Hi everybody and welcome back to Crafted by Corie. If you're new, I'm Corie. Welcome to my channel, and if you are returning, thank you as always for your support. I love you guys so much. Today is duping through the holidays. We are doing all Kirkland's dupes, so I'm really excited to share, and I'm going to tell you about something you are not going to want to miss, so make sure you stay tuned. But let's go ahead and get right on into the crafting. DIY number one. Here is my inspiration picture for my first Kirkland dupe. And I am starting out with a Dollar Tree doormat, and I had created a stencil with my Cricut thinking that this was going to be a good way to get this started. Not really thinking about the fact that with this floor mat or the doormat, it's got a lot of ridges to it, and it's not the best material to try to stencil on with a sticky stencil that you've got to transfer this way. If I had just a regular stencil that I could hold down and work with, it probably would work, but this is just not one to stick. So I finally gave up, decided I was going to hold on to this for some other project in the future, and I pulled out my Arteza chalk paint marker. Actually, I think this one is an acrylic paint marker, and I am going to hand letter this. Now, I've got my little image in front of me on my phone, and I am just kind of eyeballing how things need to go. Keep in mind that this is sped up about 3 times, so I am just coming in and giving it like a little bit of a rough draw, if you will, and then I'll come back in and I will thicken out my letters and give myself a good base for coming back through with my actual paint. So you can do this. I know frequently I have people ask me about my handwriting. This is not my handwriting. I am drawing, and you can kind of see that I am working very slowly, and this is sped up about 3 times. So really excited about today's video. I hope that you'll forgive some of my camera angles today. I am in the process of redoing my craft room, and so this is a new setup that I've got going on, and I am kind of playing with where the camera is set up. So please bear with me, and I do welcome your feedback on the camera angles, and if there's one you like better than another, let me know. But I'm coming in now with my chalk paint that I picked up at the Restore, the Habitat for Humanity Restore. This is called Winter, and I've got a flat, fat paintbrush that I'm coming in and using to deposit my paint on to my mat right over all of those letters that I had created with my paint marker. And the reason I did it with the paint marker first, I just felt like I was going to have more control over how my letters were going to be, and I knew I would be able to just come back in over it with the paint. And with these mats, I've been really amazed at how they are really pretty forgiving. First of all, they absorb a lot of paint, so you definitely need a lot of paint because they are floor mats, so you know they're absorbent, but they don't bleed, so it's really easy to work with when it comes to the paint. Now, for my little holly leaves, I had started trying to see if I could just go ahead and paint it directly, and I wasn't feeling as confident when I started trying to do that, so I did come back in. You can barely even see it, but I did go in and create the outline for my leaves with my green paint marker. And then I just came in, I filled in all of those leaves with my paint. I want to say that paint color is called Irish. I'm going to have to go back and look because I can't remember off the top of my head. But then I'm also using my red chalk paint, and this is either crimson. I think this is the crimson. The other one it would have been is called Imperial, but I'm pretty sure this is the crimson that I'm using. And then I came back in with my fern chalk paint. This is a little bit darker. And I did the outline of my holly leaves and just the little detail down the middle of the leaves to kind of form the leaf. So that is pretty much it, you guys. And I am so happy with this. I hope that you like it too, but let me know your thoughts. DIY number 2. So here's my inspiration from Kirkland for my second project. I'm starting out with a Dollar Tree canvas. I'm just going to go ahead and get that ready. I am pulling out all of the staples from the back side of it. I'm just using a flat head screwdriver and then my pliers. Just be careful when you do this because those little staples get sharp. So removing the canvas, I'm going to go ahead and set my frame aside for a minute, trimming down all of the excess off of the canvas because I'm going to be reapplying this to the frame later. So I just want to make sure that it all fits and nothing hangs over. Taking my Antique Wax by Waverly with a baby wipe, and I am just going to stain my little frame because this will be visible. This is going to be just an exterior frame for our canvas. And then I took a pencil and I'm just kind of deciding where I want my little tree trunks for our little painting that we're going to create here. So just very lightly doing that, and then I'm identifying where I want the points, the tips of my trees. So with Java chalk paint, I'm coming in with a little brush and I'm just creating the little tree trunks. I'm doing it very lightly and not with full strokes. It's kind of wispy strokes so that you've got a little bit of dimension to it. Now I've set myself up with fern, moss, and plaster chalk paints, and I've got another brush. It's a little bit of a larger brush. I'm starting out with the fern and I'm just doing little wispy strokes, and I'm starting at the bottom and I'm working my way up so that as the little branches are layered, they lay with the upper branches on top of the lower branches, the way that a tree would actually look, right? So now I'm coming back in with some of the, uh, not fern, that one is the moss and the plaster. And I've got a little bit of both on the sides of my brush. So on the left side, I've got the moss. On the right side, I've got the plaster. I'm just kind of coming in and layering these up. And where needed, I did go back and just pick up some more of the fern to make sure that I've got some dimension with my trees here. So just little wispy strokes. And this wasn't really all that hard, you guys. I was a little intimidated when I first started doing it. And, you know, some of my trees I like better than others. The one on the far left is my favorite of these three. The one on the far right, I don't know. It was almost like I had beginner's luck and then I didn't do as well as I kept going. I don't know what it was. But I still think these are really super cute. And this is such a nice little gift idea that you can create for, you know, a friend, or if you're going to some sort of a holiday party and just want to have something for them. It serves as just this warm wish. So writing in with my black Sharpie here, warm winter wishes. And again, this is sped up about 3 times so you can see I'm really being very careful and deliberate. That was the word I was looking for with what I'm doing here. So warm winter wishes. And once that's all dry, I'm going to go ahead and reapply it to the frame. So I'm going to be grabbing my staple gun as soon as I've got it all lined up. And we're just going to stretch the canvas as best we can to get it to where it needs to be and make sure that it's nice and tight across the frame. So starting in the 2 upper corners, just checking again, I've got everything nice and even so it doesn't look crooked when we flip it back over, and just securing that. So once I got those top 2 corners, I'm going to pull down in the center at the bottom and secure that, and then I'm going to work my way around and make sure that the canvas is nice and tight and secure all the way around the frame. And so, as we do this, I want to remind you that this is part of a playlist for duping through the holidays. My friend Brandy at the DIY Struggle has put together this awesome playlist. There will be a link in my description box for you to check out. And there is a $100 Visa gift card giveaway as part of this. So, you want to make sure you check out the playlist, comment on everybody's videos. Everybody has a question that you have to answer, and I'm going to be letting you know what mine is in just a minute, but let me know what you think of this project. DIY number 3. So this is my inspiration for the next project, and I am using a Dollar Tree gift bag. I'm kind of feeling like this is a little bit of a cheat, but I really love the way that it turns out. And I do build the frame, so there is that. So I am using these 1x2 strips from the Home Depot. It was like $1.18 for the 8-foot length. Cut it all down to size, making sure that it fits my Dollar Tree gift bag. I think it ended up being about 14 inches tall, and I want to say 18 or 19 inches across. But you can really size it to whatever your gift bag size is. So now I'm giving the frame a coat of silver lining chalk paint. I should have waited to paint it until afterwards, so do as I say, not as I do. But I'm using my Gorilla Wood Glue here to attach the frame pieces together, and that's part of why I should have painted it afterwards. You get a much better bond when you've got wood on wood, and it occurred to me after the fact. So you just want to make sure you glue it first, and then you can come in and paint it. So once I have it all glued, I am going to come back in with my staple gun again, and I'm putting 2 staples across the seam at each corner, and that's going to really help secure it. The wood glue is going to give it a great bond, but these staples are just going to really help it out, especially while it's still drying. So once I've got that all in there, I'm gonna go ahead and flip it back over, and I am kind of sealing in the corners with some extra paint. I'm kind of camouflaging the fact that I hadn't done it beforehand. So once I've got that done and it's all nice and dry, I'm going to go ahead and attach our image. And we're going to do this very much like we did with our little pine tree painting earlier. And I'm getting it all nice and lined up and coming in with my staple gun across the back. Now, I mentioned earlier that I'm working on a new craft room setup. I will have a video coming out on that in a few weeks. But in the meantime, my craft room is completely torn apart and I can't find anything. So what I would normally do with my next step is to cover the back of this with my plain craft paper to make it nice and finished. Can't find it right now. I'm gonna have to do that later, but I did want to mention that. So you just run a bead of glue, hot glue around it, and put that down, and then you'd be all set, and it would look nice and professional. And I love this, but let me know what you think. And now it's time for a shout out timeout. Sweet Sarah, look at how pretty these Christmas or winter holiday things are. Beautiful and nice, Harriet. Harriet has been busy. Look at these amazing crafts. I would love to give you a shout out as well. If you have interest, please send me an email at craftedbycorie@gmail.com. DIY number 4. Here is my inspiration for my 4th project, this cute little Noel pillow. I have some more of this green fabric that I've used in a few other videos, and I'm gonna go ahead and figure out what size I need to cut this down to. I've got these pillow forms that I've had in my stash for a while from Joann Fabric, or Joann's, I guess is what they're called now. I honestly don't recall what the price was on them because I literally probably bought them about 10 years ago. So I've had them for a while, finally getting around to using them. I am cutting down my fabric, and I'm going to be doing what I call this the envelope method. I'm sure that that is not the right term for it, but essentially we're creating a sham so that we can switch this out throughout the seasons, right? So I'll be able to reuse this pillow form by just pulling it out, putting my sham away, and then creating a new one for whatever the next season is. So using my hot glue, I'm creating a seam there. I still haven't fixed my sewing machine. It is on my to-do list. Eventually you guys will actually see me sew something, but if you're not a sewer, just know that hot glue is definitely an option. It works fine. I was amazed the first time that I actually tried it because I am a basic sewer and I normally would revert to the sewing machine. But you know what? The hot glue does the job. So I just want to be careful with it with stuff like this. So I've got my cord that I'm laying out in my Noel form, and then I'm just going to take my hot glue and I am going to very carefully apply a little bit of glue at a time and make sure that I'm keeping the form of my letters the way that I want it. Now, if I had more time, I would definitely hand sew this part. If you have the time to do it and you want it done right, I highly recommend hand sewing it from underneath with just a little hidden stitch that you can pull through. So you would just pin down your letters in the shape that you want and just hand sew this. I have been going a little crazy with the work, so my full-time job that is, so I didn't have the extra time to do this the way that I'm recommending. Again, if you're not a sewer, the hot glue will do the job. It actually turned out really sweet. Um, but if you want to do it the right way really would be to hand sew those letters on there. So I'm going back and doing my seam, a bead of hot glue all the way up the side, and I'm going to seal that down. I'll do the same thing on the other side. And while we are doing this, I am thinking about what I want to ask you guys. What is your favorite holiday song? And it doesn't necessarily have to be a Christmas song. It could be a Hanukkah song. It could be something completely different holiday wise. But what is your favorite holiday song? And leave a comment in the comment field so that you can get entered into the drawing. But now we're going ahead and shoving our little pillow form in here. And now I am taking the yarn that I had shown at the very beginning of this project, getting my needle all threaded. This is a nice sharp, it said it was a doll needle, but it's got a nice large head on it so that I was able to thread it with the yarn. And I'm using what I refer to as a blanket stitch. I don't know if that is accurate or not, but essentially you come up through the fabric and you're leaving the stitch on the outside. It's a decorative stitch, right? So you come up and then you flip your needle through the loop before you pull it all the way tight. I'm gonna kind of zoom in here for you so you can see. So coming up, and then I've got this really long right now because I want to be able to make my way all the way around the pillow. So then flip it through there. I'm going to do it again, and I'm slowing it down for you in a second. Maybe not on this stitch, but the next one I'll slow it down a little bit so you can see. But you just grab the loop. So hopefully you can kind of see what I'm talking about. Here we go. We're slowing down here for a second. So coming up through, pulling it all through. But before you get it all the way completely done, see that loop there? We're going to grab that with the needle and pull the yarn back through again. Hopefully that makes sense. And I'm going to work that all the way around the pillow. Once I get to the end, I'm going to go ahead and just make sure that everything is connected. And I'm going to tie a little knot at the back of it so it's nice and secure, and also little discreet knot. I had started this down at the bottom right corner of the pillow, so when you're looking at it, it's really going to be not so noticeable. And that's it. I think this is so cute, but let me know what you think. And how did I do? And DIY number 5. Here is the inspiration for our final project, sweet little gold Christmas trees. I am using Dollar Tree paper towel holders, two of which, oh, and then this is a wire from a Hobby Lobby pick that I'd pulled apart a while back. And it's a pretty solid wire, so I'm not going to lie. I really struggled with getting this to curve into the right size circle that I needed to complement my project. So once I had that pretty much where I wanted it, I was going to use my soldering iron, and my soldering iron just, this is the first time I was actually going to use it to solder. I usually use it to melt stuff. It just wasn't working. I ended up ordering a new one. So this is the new one. I was reading the instructions, making sure I knew what I was doing. And here I am trying to solder everything together. I just have a bunch of rubber bands on it right now, holding it kind of in place because I really could have used a third hand. You know what? I was struggling with this one, you guys. It is, I think this is probably the first project in the year and a half that I've had my channel that I considered giving up on the project and just throwing in the towel. This one was really giving me a hard time. And I was determined to try and get it to work. Every time with the solder, I thought I had it, together. I would start taking the rubber bands off and the thing would pop open again. It was a challenge to say the least. Eventually, I did get my little hoop to do what I needed it to do. And you can see there, the solder is finally like there. So I got it. I was good with it. But then I did start trying to put the rest of the pieces together, and you're going to see in just a minute. I was struggling. So if you have any tips for soldering, let me know. I know it says that it works best with ferrous materials. I'm not sure if I know what that means. I know in French, fer means iron, so I don't know if that's what it means or if there's another definition. But I don't know. If you solder things, let me know your thoughts on that. But I went ahead and pulled apart my paper towel holders to get my other two size rings that I wanted. And then I went ahead and I started using my heavy duty wire cutters to score and score and score the ends of the paper towel holders so that I had just the straight parts. So once I had that all done, I am starting to think about how I'm going to piece this all together. And again, this was a bit of a struggle. Yeah. So I'm just trying to make sure that all of my little tips on my legs are kind of coming together and trying to piece all of this together. I figured if I could connect all of the hoops to the legs, it might, provide some stability. So I'm using rubber bands to attach everything. I'm basically just trying to build this little guy with string and paper clips practically, but I'm just using rubber bands and trying to get it in some semblance of the shape that I'm going for. So once I had that done, I went ahead and grabbed my soldering iron again, and I am doing my very best to solder this. And I had it to a point where it looked really great and it looked super solid and it was doing well and it was, all fine and good. And I tried flipping it upside down to do the next step and the whole thing like fell apart on me. So I'm probably going to show you here in just a second where it falls apart. So eventually, yeah, it's so frustrating. So I was like, you know what? I am going to see if my Star Bond crazy glue will work on this. This was my last ditch effort. I've got my medium Star Bond glue and the accelerator that I was spraying on there. And you know what? It worked like a charm. I was amazed. My Star Bond glue, oh, awesome. And you can find that in my Amazon store if you're interested in checking that out. There's a link in my description box. So now I'm using my Rust-Oleum gold. I think this is actually called Gold Mirror. It's a shiny gold spray paint. I got that all sprayed up. You want to make sure you're doing that in a well-ventilated area. And now I'm taking one of these little stars from the Dollar Tree. I'm hot gluing that up onto the top, and that's it. Let me know what you think. Okay, everybody, that's it for today. I hope that you enjoyed the project, so please be sure to give me a big thumbs up. If you haven't already subscribed, I hope you'll consider doing that and coming back and visiting with me again sometime soon. Be sure to leave a comment, an answer to my questions, so you get entered into the drawing, and the link to the playlist, that thing. The link to the playlist is in my description box, so I hope you'll go and take a look at that, because you need to watch all the videos and make all the comments so that you can be entered into the drawing. But until the next time, be well, be kind, and make it a great day. Thank you so much for watching. Take good care. Bye.